In the last federal election, voters turned away from the major parties in droves, in record numbers in fact, so you better be paying attention to what the independent candidates are doing this time around.
To girl Deb Leonard rapping Monash in his post. From Druin to Wonthaggi, Warrigal to the coast. In Leongatha and Cows, some are struggling both. While major parties in Canberra got caviar on their toast.
That's independent Victorian candidate Deb Leonard, who probably shouldn't be giving up her day job as a lawyer to take up a career as a rapper anytime soon.
And yeah, I know it's kind of mid to hear this white woman rap, but you know what's even worse? Putting up with Canberra's crap.
Is it cringeworthy? Absolutely. But I got to give it to Deb for this spicy lyric.
From Kilcunda to Inverloch, I'm showing up, we're blowing up. Well, Albo sits in silence and Dutton doesn't give a fuck.
Deb says the rap was an attempt to connect with younger voters. But do you know how the major parties are trying to do that?
Cheese prices are up 20%. How many times will Labour lie about not ruining the economy?
What the actual And Labour is doing it too.
Breaking news. After escaping a train heading to an infamous Norway prison for the murder of John Pork, Tim Cheese has been spotted in Australia working on Peter Dutton's risky and expensive nuclear scheme.
At this point, you might be thinking, who the heck is Tim Cheese and why is an AI mouse the spokesperson for the Australian Liberal Party?
After hearing the news that the Liberals will have petrol tax for a year, I've decided to invest the savings into a state-of-the-art bunker in the Himalayas.
Well, it's a long story, but to sum it up, Tim Cheese is a character in a viral internet storyline. Just Google Brainrot meme, you'll figure it out yourself eventually. But it's not the only way the Liberal Party is leaning into AI. This is their latest ad.
How far can halving the petrol tax take you?
Bravo, you're saving $14 a tank.
That'll be $110 for your tank of petrol.
Your petrol doesn't have to be this expensive.
The crazy thing is, all this weird shit has to be signed off by serious party power brokers.
Authorised P. Erickson, ALP Canberra.
Authorised by Ahurst Liberal Canberra.
Authorised P. Erickson, ALP Canberra.
Authorised by Ahurst Liberal Canberra.
In case you're wondering, there are currently no laws prohibiting the use of AI in election advertising, and the AEC goes as far as to say there's no evidence to suggest that AI in election material has ever been the determining factor in an election result. While AI might not be the determining factor, there has to be a reason why the Liberal Party is paying big bucks to the controversial creative agency Topham Guerin. The Kiwi agency helped ScoMo to a surprise win in 2019 and also helped Boris Johnson get over the line. They're experts in creating viral AI videos and deepfakes, and now they're helping the Liberal Party rack up millions of views on TikTok. Like it or not, this might be the future of electioneering, but give me a cringeworthy rap any day.
Did they vote for me, fellas?
Yes. It's absolutely the right thing to do.
Can you rule out any changes to negative gearing and capital gains tax?
Yes. How hard is it for the 50th time?
And will you rule out using them as negotiating tools with the Greens in horse trading?
To form a government?
No, in horse trading for votes on other matters.
What are you talking about?
That was PM Anthony Albanese yesterday getting a bit snippy with a journalist over the idea that a future Labor government might be doing deals with the Greens to pass legislation.
There are 25 votes we have in the Senate. In order to get legislation through, we're in that situation, have been in that situation for this entire term.
Federal politics editor Katina Curtis, did we see the return of Grumpy Albo yesterday?
I mean, there definitely was a situation about a situation there, Ben. Look, I think it is definitely something about the PM. You know, he does get a bit cranky when he's tired. I mean, look, same, to be honest. It certainly, it's not that good of a look in the campaign. And especially when, you know, the local journos have come there to see you. It's a pretty big deal. You know, from my time as a local journalist, like, it's a pretty big deal when a big political leader comes to town. So definitely not a great look from the PM. I can understand his frustration at the questions. You know, from his perspective, he feels like he's answered it, but I don't know that basically what would happen in a minority party Parliament is a great big unknown. And I mean, voters rightly want to get some kind of sense about where our politicians, what they might do in that situation. Though, you know, politicians are always saying, well, they don't deal with hypotheticals and won't publicly commit themselves to anything.
All right, let's get back to that breaking news from the White House. President Trump announcing a 90-day pause on all reciprocal tariffs except for China.
World markets are currently being treated for whiplash after Donald Trump hit pause on his global tariff strategy.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid.
From the United States Study Centre at the University of Sydney, Associate Professor David Smith, do you think this is part of some overarching plan, or is this a backflip from the Trump administration?
I think this is a reaction to circumstances getting worse, and in particular, the fact that the bond markets were moving in a very worrying direction. Trump was prepared to tolerate falls in the share market, but the bond markets are something different. Usually, bond markets would get stronger as the share market goes down because investors are fleeing to the sun of the US government, of US government bonds. Instead, what we were seeing was that the bond yield was increasing. That is, the interest rates on bonds were increasing. That means that investors in US government debt were selling it off. And if they were selling it off, that would mean that the price of debt was about to go up. The interest rates were about to go up. If that happened, then that would ultimately mean that the interest rates on everything went up. For Trump, this would be really worrying for two reasons. First of all, it's a sign that investors no longer trust the United States government as a safe haven in an economic storm, which is understandable given that the economic storm was caused by US government policy. But the second thing is that for Trump himself and for a lot of people in Trump's inner circle, interest rate rises are really bad news. Their own businesses are dependent on interest rates being relatively low, on them being able to borrow money relatively cheaply. And certainly all of Trump's policies as US president are dependent on the United States being able to borrow money fairly cheaply. So he could tolerate price rises, he could tolerate a share market collapse. He couldn't tolerate the prospect of the price of borrowing going up.